Namaste. Konnichiwa. Sorry. Trying to remember. I hope that's pronounced right. Uh, and whatever other Asian greetings. If you know any Asian greetings, please let me know in the comments. Um, and on the subject of comments, please comment whatever you want to in the comments. Um, anyway, welcome to, I hope I got the right title in. My brain sometimes just doesn't work. Part 3 of Asian Thursday Severity, or Asia's Thursday Severity. Hope you enjoy it. So yeah, I am way behind schedule, and I didn't get much done today as much as, well, there were a few things done, but not, well, making these videos, but on that, pretty much just watching YouTube, to be honest, or I did a bit of writing, I guess. Considering I love to write a lot, my messy handwriting, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, with my punctuation and messy handwriting, but I still love to write, because I'm mad like that. Yeah, I don't know if you can see my handwriting, but I've just realised I'm taking a lot of time. But yeah, talking of which I am behind schedule, because I watch these silly political shows. I don't know why I watch them, but I suppose that sometimes hearing people gives me ideas, or it jogs my memory of things, or whatever. My views on politics would probably just end up shouting at the TV or whatever, or maybe not. But yeah, I watch Question Time sometimes, most of the time on Thursdays when I can, and I watch Politics Live. It used to be This Week. That's Politics Live. But yeah, sometimes I do wonder why I watch them. But they are a little bit interesting sometimes. But it's different. It's interesting hearing different views. But anyway, hope you enjoy this. And these are pointers number 21 to 30. And here goes. So point number 21. As the saying goes, 21 again. I hope I remember everything. I was going to say in this order. I mentioned in point number 15 that I forgot to say in point number 11 that I would love to see how Asian politicians can put their differences aside and work to. So I'm just checking. Facebook is still live. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully at the same time. Hopefully both will record as well as possible. And hopefully I won't get any distractions or internet interruptions or whatever as well. General interruptions or internet disconnections or basically any tech problems or whatever. But yeah, God willing and Godspeed, all will be well. I know I'm not that religious, but I do kind of believe in God out of fear rather than hope. But yeah, hopefully God will prove wrong. So I'm going way off track. But yeah, getting back to Asia and Asian empowerment on Thursdays. Technically it's Friday now, so again behind schedule. But yeah, I mentioned in point number 15 that I forgot to say in point number 11 about how I'd love to see how Asian politicians could change and come together for the good of Asia, and maybe Asia generally uniting together in trade and investment and that kind of, which I dream for them to do. So they look at what's best for Asians generally and improving the quality of life for all possible Asians. That would be easier said than done, but I'm using my imagination. I'd love to see that. Also, in point number 3, because I'm thinking about politics, I forgot to say how I'd love to promote libertarianism across Asia. So people having as many freedoms, free choices as possible, being able to do whatever they want with their life within reason. I think they should be encouraged to be empathetic, or big word for me, empathetical, and that kind of thing, sympathetic or whatever. But I do believe people should have free choices on who they marry, if they marry at all, whether they want to marry, or whether they want to stay single, or what they do with their money, what they do with their body, and whatever other freedoms, as much as possible within reason. I know there should be some rules, but I'd love to see as much freedom as possible. Not sure I should say this, but like consent, the legal age for consent, I'd probably make it 16 worldwide, and fine line. So I'd say like from their 16th birthday. But again, I think it should be consent and consensual, and also I think it should be, that's the best example, but I think people should be more free. I'd love to see Asia privatize industries, deregulate industries, deregulate, have as few regulations as possible, and basically as few rules and laws as possible, and maybe tax cuts. And I think of like inviting the wealthy to come and work, run businesses, maybe even marry and live, basically generally, maybe even marry and hopefully certainly live generally in and around across Asia. But yeah, I love to promote libertarianism across Asia. I know I mentioned about the football partnership I'd love to have between Italian football and Celtic and Asia as well. I'd love for Italian football and Celtic to be tax exempt and that kind of thing. So anyway, any involvement with Italian football and Celtic, obviously I'd love to be tax exempt. I know Celtic at the moment, I've seen a lot of the news that there's a controversy about the late penalty decision we got. Sorry, those who are not into football, but it seems like that's spread all over the media. But I think people are neglecting to mention. I do think it was a penalty, so almost up, but I do think people neglect to mention like our Japanese superstar, as it happens, was clattered, and I'll mention that in part two. But yeah, off track a little bit. But I did, as I say, I'd love to see Asia partnering with Italian football and Celtic. I'd love to see investors, sponsors, supporters, clubs, followers. It's the same sort of thing. Supporters, followers, supporters clubs, I'll say, fan clubs, supporters clubs, or whatever. And so more of a following and a support and that kind of thing, and investment and sponsorship from Asia and across and around Asia into Italian football and Celtic, and also all around the world. But also I'm focusing more on Asia now. But I look for as many investors and sponsors as possible to invest into and sponsor Italian football and Celtic as long as they do it legally. But yeah, that partnership, and hopefully they're helping to develop Asian football and Asian economies and tourism. Also, talking about tourism, I talk about tourism as well. Almost forgot before I move on to point number 22. The tourism. I know I rushed the last video, which is probably quite good. I got to the point quicker. Talking of which, this I've done the opposite, but because I wanted to watch the beginning of Question Time, and I thought, why am I rushing? Like one of my aunts, she rushes to watch Indian dramas, and I'm like, it feels a bit sad that you would rush home, but then I do the same thing. But yeah, tourism, the tourism industry. I'd love for Asian nations to have more tourism from each other, as I mentioned before, in part two, and also from the diaspora, or however you pronounce it, and also from people who are interested in Asian culture and tradition, and for all those who just want to explore the world. And moving on to point number 22, I hope I didn't forget anything, quite ironically. Point number 21, I often think that's a sad irony if I forget anything in point number 21, but I often worry about forgetting things and whether I'm going to get to my point that I want to mention. Like I think of all these ideas, and in fact, I meant to say in the intro, talking about forgetting things, but I guess my fears for my videos are one, boring people. I fear boring people, but I fear boring other people. On a serious note, I fear boring people. I fear not as in not well, I kind of fear boring people, but I fear boring other people, and I fear talking too much, which I probably do. Talking of which, and I fear like repeating myself, which I do, I guess, and also accidentally offending people, because I guess I'm quite spineless, but I would otherwise just say what I see in the politest possible way. But yeah, a lot of the time in my videos, I say things like how I believe we shouldn't join the military and we should support each other instead, and that kind of thing. As POC, as people of colour, and also generally I discourage joining the military, but that's a personal opinion. But it seems like people don't like other people to have opinions or different sort of thoughts or whatever. Also, yeah, so I fear boring others, offending people, offending others, talking too much, talking of which, and forgetting things. And I think that's all my fears for my videos, and I suppose whether people enjoy them, I guess. Again, going back, I suppose that's all connected to like not boring people and all that kind of thing. But talking of Asia, I'd love to see how they can build together for the future. And again, I think if they could unite together and trust each other and want what's best for each other, not compete with each other too much, unless it's in a friendly way to push each other. But I think they should push each other, but at the same time want what's best for each other and be proud to be Asian, that kind of thing. But in a not an arrogant way, but just a kind of proud in a different way. Which reminded me of something I was going to say on point number 11, which I forgot as well. Another controversial idea, talking about trying not to offend anyone. I did say libertarianism, and I do believe people should make their own choices. And I wish God would give us more choices. I wish governments would give us more choices. And basically, I wish we had more choice in life within reason. I don't think we should stab or shoot people or take away their freedoms or whatever. So I think if our freedoms violate other people's freedoms, it's not so good. But I also think that I'm not a big fan of transsexuality or changing. Not that I don't like trans people, or certainly I don't hate anyone or anything, or I try not to hate anyone or anything. But and I wish them well. But it's something I wouldn't personally encourage. I should be careful what I say. Again, not wanting to offend anyone. But yeah, I wish them well. But it's not something I would encourage. And like again, I believe in God out of fear rather than hope. I guess some of my own sort of things, my own. And use this term, my own sexuality and all that kind of thing. It's not Quranic or biblical or whatever, or not that spiritual or religious, perhaps you could say. Well, I wish God would give us those freedoms, but part of me does wish God would allow us to change things or whatever we want to, or do things we want to. But another part of me thinks it's like playing God. So I don't believe in I don't encourage transsexuality or changing, like getting piercings or tattoos or things like that. If I did say that, I would be lying. Just like if I said I love to work hard or whatever else. Or I know I'm supposed to say I want a job or whatever, but if I was honest, other than to pay my bills, I guess I wouldn't really. Right. Moving on, number 23, I'd love to see how there could be more investment into Asia, how investors could be encouraged to invest into Asia. And again, if they work together, maybe they could come up with ideas to look into how to invest, how to encourage investment into Asia. Again, with the Tanford and Celtic, I hope it will be a mutual benefit. I hope the Tanford and Celtic can also fundraise for Asia while they benefit from investment from Asia as well, and academies and that kind of thing. Also, I love to promote animal rights, human rights, rights of children, rights of disabled people, empowerment, tackling poverty across Asia, and all that kind of thing. And again, uniting Asia together. Talking of which, point number 24. Again, I'd love to promote Pan-Asianism, the Asian Alliance, which I dream would promote Pan-Asianism as much as possible. So I'd love to see Asia united as much as possible. I'd love to see. I guess there's only so much time and space and money and resource and funding available or whatever, and especially time and space, and again funds and whatnot. So I don't know how many events they could host, summits, events, conferences, and that kind of thing. They could host or hold again tourism events and things like that across Asia. Asians could tour each other's nations and that kind of thing. I mentioned about connecting with the diaspora as well. But I'd love for an Asian Alliance to have loads of buildings which do things like promote Asian poetry, art, writing, architecture, businesses, political unions, unity, Pan-Asianism, basically, and basically support Asian projects as much as possible from across Asia. Again, poetry, art, writing, architecture, designs, and all sorts of things like that. And I'd love for all possible Asian nations to have those buildings and to host those summits and events and conferences in those buildings for the Asian Union. So I'd love for the Asian Union to be founded, obviously, first of all, and then to have buildings all over Asia in every possible Asian nation or wherever they can have them. Again, there's only so much space and time or whatever. Buildings that promote enterprise zones, places where people can go and network, social groups, promoting cafes, places where people can sell tea, obviously, well, that's what cafes do, tea and coffee and whatever. But yeah, where people can sell their wares, so to speak, or whatever, however you want to put it. But basically promoting Asian projects. But I'd love for Malaysia and Central Asia to host the majority of those. But again, any other possible Asian nation to host them as well, and to basically meet up, especially in Central Asia, Malaysia truly Asia, just because it's called good. just because of the term like Malaysia, truly Asia, and it seems to have Asia in the title. But as I say, I'd love for them to host events and to put aside any divisions and that kind of thing, so they could go to Central Asia. There's disputes on land, territory, and all that kind of thing, or whatever other disputes, and to come together to sort of say, let's put those disputes aside, as they say here in the UK, nip it in the bud, so to speak. I'll use that term right. Yeah, basically to network and to bring Asia together and be proud of each other, China and India, to be proud of each other's achievements. Hard to see that completely work. Oh, again, all of Asia. Hard to see that completely work with like division between India and Pakistan. But I hope the voices of those who want to see more unity will come out more. Point number 25, I'd love to favour republics and promote republicanism, just like I'd love to promote libertarianism, I guess democracy, but especially libertarianism. Republicanism is another thing I'd love to promote. And number 26, I'd love to promote anti-imperialism. Number 27, I'd love for Asia to have award shows and awards generally, and rewards, provide awards and rewards for, that's awards, AWARDS, and rewards, REWARDS, just to clarify, to honour and acknowledge those who invest into the continent and those who contribute to the continent, for instance, those who contribute to Pan-Asianism, whether that's people from Asia itself or like investors from outside of Asia, or those who invest in projects across Asia. Maybe organisations like the Asian Development Bank, ADB, for short, could help to fund those sort of things. Tata and others could, Reliance Industries could, and hopefully they'll benefit with increased PR as well, that kind of thing. I'd love to buy as many of their products as possible and support their projects, Asian projects, from all over Asia, really, especially Malaysia, India, and Singapore. But yeah, all over Asia, Vietnam, Iraq as well, and places like that. I'd also love for them to tackle terrorism and that kind of thing. And the Asian Development Bank, I'd love to invest into Roma. Tata, I'd love to invest into Reno and that kind of thing. I often think of like as a reward for me supporting for me supporting Asia. If my ideas work, I'd love them to return the favour by investing into and sponsoring a town for themselves and having more supporters and followers of such in and around and across Asia. Number 28, I would love for them to turn negative situations into positives. I'm talking about solving problems, tackling, troubleshooting / tackling, I think it was with T, any troubles they face across Asia. Again, with T, problems, issues, and all that kind of thing. But I'd say troubles because it's a Thursday. Again, given my use of alliterations. Again, putting any differences aside, tackling illnesses, diseases, natural disasters, and things like that together as much as possible and supporting each other, having funding and support packages and that kind of thing. Supporting education and that kind of thing. I'd love to fundraise for all those sort of things. I'm sure there's something else I'm going to say. What I was thinking about in point number 27. But yeah, I'd love to see them turn negative situations into positives and work together on anti-imperialism, reparations and that kind of thing. I think that's what I meant to say in point number 26. I was going to say like another thing I'd love to support is anti-imperialism and that kind of thing. And they could host events with former colonies to talk about like what they have in common. Another one I mentioned a few times, like with Africa and developing nations, African nations, developing nations generally, Latin America maybe. Maybe even bringing like Aboriginals, Indigenous people from Australasia and the Americas together as well, in Asia to support each other. POC, people of colour, against racism and whatnot, and that kind of thing. Number 29, I'd love for part Asians to support Asia as well. So I talk about connecting with the diaspora and changing awareness of neurodivergent conditions and rebranding mental health like a method to madness and that kind of thing. So looking at positive side to mental illness and that kind of thing. And number 30, I'd love for Asians to get some ass, tushy, toddy, goodies and that kind of thing. And on that bombshell, I am out, and peace and love. Probably saying way too much as usual.